Great. So our next question is, what are the most cost-effective approaches for handling routine legal matters versus complex legal issues for a small to mid-sized business? When does it make sense to use fractional counsel versus in-house or traditional law firms?
Hi. Okay, so that is a great question. What are the most cost-effective approaches for handling a routine legal issue versus a complex legal issue? When I think routine legal issue, I'm thinking of something that comes up regularly, that it does not typically require a lot of intellectual heft or complication. It could be a distraction for those in the business to do, or it could be something that could easily be trained for someone within the business to do with oversight from an external provider, right? From like a lawyer that you hire separate from the business, from an employee inside the business. These are the kinds of things I'm thinking about. Think of things like your corporate renewals, right? Your annual renewals, or what about your corporate requirements for annual meetings, or at least the written consents for those meetings. These are sort of the routine things from a corporate side. What about reviewing and updating employment agreements and benefit policies to comply with changing laws and regulations? That could be something. What about updating your website terms of service, privacy policy, and cookie notice and consent to comply with the constantly changing laws around privacy? These are sort of routine items, and I think the best way of dealing with this is having a system, right? Having a system. I've said to people so many times, when you see things like this, almost every frustration you have around legal and compliance and regulatory items is probably going to come down to a systems failure. And I know we've done a workshop about that in the past. So how do you deal with it? You want to come up with a system or adopt a system that already exists. And I would say choose a system that is close like what you're already doing. And when I say what you're doing, the people in your business or external to your business supporting it, however they do things, you want to get it as close as that. I remember one time talking to a business coach. I was looking for a new bookkeeper and accountant. And I said, well, I'm trying to decide between whether I'll go with this accounting software or that accounting software. And this was a lawyer. And he said to me flat out, well, he used to be a lawyer, practiced as a lawyer. He had gone into consulting and training after that. And he said, why would you make that decision? Are you the one who's going to be doing the bookkeeping and doing the accounts? And I said, well, no, I'm looking to hire someone. He said, yeah, let them choose their system. And so you want to think about who's going to be doing that work for the business and let them choose a system. What you want to be responsible for is ensuring that they actually have a system that works for your business. So the outcome, does it work for your business? And are there any special considerations with how they get there that really matter, right? So I'll give you an example for the law firm. I allow Anna a lot of leeway in terms of what she wants to choose for certain things, right? How she wants to get there, how she wants to do it. But there are restrictions around marketing and advertisement for lawyers. For example, using certain words or putting certain disclaimers. Those are guided by ethical rules. So she's got a lot of freedom, but there's a little bit that I have to tell her has to be done as you get to that goal. It has to be done this way or that way when it comes to these narrow areas, but otherwise, you're going to get a lot of freedom, right? As long as we get the outcome that's desired. How you get there, there's going to be a lot of flexibility. So you want to think about it in terms of that. That allows you to delegate as you scale, not just tasks, but also decision making, which is the true delegation, decision making and accountability. So how do you do this cost effective? We have another workshop on when to think about hiring and building your in-house legal team versus an external team. And cost is actually not the biggest factor when it comes to that, because people have this idea that it will cost less to build internally, and that's not necessarily true. Um, so I would say use that workshop as a resource because it really dives into it. And that by itself is telling you what you could do. There's so much information out there. It's a matter of finding information from the sources that you trust so that you could stop searching and consuming information and start taking action based off of what you're getting, right? So I tell people, I see all this content out there, but part of the reason why people keep searching is they don't yet trust what they're hearing and seeing, and that's why they keep looking for more and more and more. So you want to go to the sources that you trust to get the information that you need. If they offer an opportunity for you to get that information, like an e-course or a guide or a workshop, for you to take on some of that work in terms of establishing those systems for routine matters, then that is ideal.